We are good to go.
Hey.
All
I'll
right.
call the meeting to order. Got the roll call, Jennifer? Okay.
We're all here.
Approval of the agenda.
I just had one amendment to the agenda. We're applying for a federal rec trails grant here in October, and I just got an email from Mindy from Snyder and Associates earlier today asking if we could get that on the agenda so we have it ready to go for the grant. But it's just going to be a simple approval, and we'll send that off to them when we apply for the grant. It should be good to go. So other than that, no changes.
Where do you want to put that?
I just put it right before, or between 8 and 9 before the resolution off, or I guess put it after 9 since I'm technically going to sign it.
Call it 9A.
Sure.
That's a resolution.
Yep. Resolution for management. 25-year management on the trail if we end up getting the grant, which they all fall under us anyway. So pretty typical of most of these grants. We had to do the same for the state rec trails. And I believe REAP, maybe not REAP, but I'll go over it. I can screen share it when we get to it.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda? As
So
amended?
move. I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Agenda is approved.
All right.
Approval of minutes of previous meeting.
I think I sent these out last Thursday or Friday. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at them or not.
Yep.
Not a ton on there. We had a pretty abbreviated meeting due to the derecho back last month. So as long as nobody has any corrections, they should be good.
Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second it. I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it's fine.
I read it. It looked good to me. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Review of financial information.
All right, I sent out the monthly financial stuff, I believe Friday too, Thursday or Friday, but I'll just go through the bills here like I have in the past. Let me hop on here and attempt to screen share them. I've also got August bills on here. I don't think I had a list of those for you guys. I can forward those to you too. But all right, can you guys see it?
Not yet.
Click
it. Can you click it?
Yeah. Try it again.
I can open it on my phone, I guess.
I got it on my computer.
Yeah, I've got it up on my phone, so.
Did that do anything?
No, not on that, but I'm gonna try to bring it up on my phone.
We can see
Katie,
your
you're
screen,
shaking
but
your head.
it's
Can you
just
see
a
it?
list of files.
Yeah, I can see your desktop.
Okay, cool.
Like the
Or your
file.
files here.
All right. Did that pop up?
No. I'll try to get it on my thing here.
Try something else here. How about that?
Well,
Something- Yeah,
Yeah.
there it
Oh,
is.
there it is.
All right, that's what we're looking for. Sorry about that. All right, I'll just buzz through these here, go through a few things that aren't typically on the bills. Baumgars, we had quite a bit spent there due to the derecho. We had a number of chainsaw chains, supplies for down at Blaine's house. Instead of renting him a room, he wanted to stay down there in his house. He's got dogs and things like that and didn't really want to leave them. So I talked with Stacy from HR, and yeah, she thought that was fine. And he did purchase a portable AC unit that we're actually going to put down in the shelter to kind of supplement what's in there already. And it's also got a heating unit on it. So part of that is that. Boone County Treasurer, we had some work done over at Mabasca. There was a county tile that had some issues. So when they went through there and did that, I talked with the treasurer, and apparently those fees fall on us after they go back and reassess things. So that is what that is for. You'll see a few names on here. I think there's only 3. Those are all cabin or shelter reservation cancellations due to COVID. You see here, Dodson truck and tractor repair. We were in the process of some cleanup and the clutch burn up on our chipper. So we had to get that repaired. New clutch, and then there were some other hydraulic issues there. So we got all that ready to go. Let me see if there's anything else here that's major. Martin Oil, fuel. Richard Brothers. So we had the AC unit went out in the clubhouse here about, I think it was first part of August. So we had Pritchard Brothers come out and install a new AC or a new air conditioner and furnace. We found out the unit that was in there was not big enough to be able to handle the size of building that it was. So and I asked him too, I said, is this something we can install? And then, here down the road, we can pull out of that building and put in a new facility if we get a new clubhouse facility here, hopefully in the not too distant future. And they said, yep, they said everything would be compatible for this size of building and bigger. So we should be all set there. Readers, we rented a telehandler. It got delivered today. We're going to take it out on the High Trestle Trail starting tomorrow and start chipping away at some of the trees that are up above that are leaning, hanging branches and things like that. We actually had a contractor who's doing a lot of the work in Madrid. He came out, I met with him. It's been a couple weeks ago now, to see what it would cost to have them come through and do the cleanup for the whole 8 miles of trail that we manage. And the price tag on that was a lot more than I think you guys would be comfortable approving without the Board of Supervisors approval. They thought it'd cost around $450,000 to $500,000 to do.
Holy cow.
Yeah, no, and it's unfortunate because I know they do a good job. They go through, obviously, take out any of the trees that are hazards. They do a lot of maintenance, and then they have a crew come behind them, GPS locate all the trees, photograph all the trees, which is a requirement for FEMA, which we are applying for as well. But like I told them, I said, our operating budget, that's over half of our operating budget for a year. So I didn't think anybody would probably be comfortable going ahead with that. And it's hard to tell too, because a lot of these places, FEMA covers 85% of the costs, which would still leave us with a $70,000, $80,000 bill. Pardon my math, I don't know if that's correct. It's just ballpark, but we just don't think that would be feasible and cost effective to probably do something like that. So we're going to go out and do some of the clearing ourselves and then reassess if there's anything bigger that we can't handle, that might be a hazard to the folks on the trail, then we may hire some of that work out. But the initial go through, clear, and then we'll come back through with the chipper and truck and trailer if we need to clear any of the big stuff out. So I thought $1,600 was a heck of a lot better than $500,000. So I think we can handle it. So Star Energy FS, we did have a bill from them. During the derecho, one of the LP tanks, we have 2 500-gallon tanks down there, and I'm not sure why we didn't just put a 1,000-gallon one wasn't just put in initially, but we got the one that got flipped over from the derecho, a tree falling on it, had some damage anyway, so we got rid of those and we just swapped it out for a 1,000-gallon LP tank, which will handle what we need for that area. See, van wall equipment, we had some maintenance done on our tractor, kind of biannual maintenance, went through, changed all the cutting edges on the buckets, filters, fluids and things like that. So we had that done. We hadn't had that done since we purchased it. Other than that, I think that is pretty much it. Wilcox Printing and Publishing, we had some more scorecards made for the golf course, which we partner with Vision Bank on that, and they paid for $500 of it. So we got the other $230, which is pretty nice. Ziegler Cat, I guess we did have some hydraulic issues and electrical issues on our cat skid loader and one of our stump grinding attachments. So we brought that down to them and they got everything back in shape. Had to replace a few hydraulic lines that had been damaged for some time. So, and then Perkins Electric through the Conservation Trust, that is for repairing some of the lights on the High Trestle Trail Bridge. So, any questions, comments on any of this?
I just was curious, would a drone be able to help you in identifying on what needs to be cleaned up on the trail, or is it pretty visible? You just can't, it's just hard to get to.
For the most part, it's pretty visible. There's a lot of it that, it's kind of back in the woods. We haven't really taken a close look at that type of stuff yet. But that's part of the plan this week, is to go down there and start hitting that stuff. But no, a drone would be great. Actually, I had a meeting with Penny Vossler through a GIS department at the courthouse or for the county. And the county's thinking about purchasing a drone that can be used by all departments, which would help out in these types of situations. Forest Reserve, I do that every winter, do the inspections on Forest Reserve acres. A lot of the times those areas, I can get through them, but if there's, a foot of snow on the ground, a drone would make my life a lot easier. So.
Yeah, it's just a thought. I didn't know if it's practical or not, so.
Yeah, no, I think it would be. It'd probably be better if a lot of the leaves were off the trees. You kind of see, and that may be something too. If the county goes through with this once, here in a couple months, we could take it back through and be able to possibly identify some of those trees that could potentially be hazards, and we can remove or trim or whatever we need to do to those.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's all I have for that, if nobody has any questions. And I do, the bills are at the courthouse tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to be down on the trail most of the day. So if a couple of you wouldn't mind stopping in the courthouse and just up at the auditor's office, and you can just sign them there, and then they can just take them from there and get them processed and get them sent out. So.
Yeah, well, I'm available. I could do it, so I'm available. So
Okay.
just let.
Yep, and then just one more volunteer.
I could probably go down some. I gotta stop down there in the net. Does it have to be tomorrow?
The supervisors need them by Wednesday, so that way they can approve.
Yeah, it kind of does need to be tomorrow then.
Yeah.
I can run over to Boone.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
I've got plans for tomorrow, so I wouldn't be available.
Okay. Well, yeah, if Marilyn and Al, if you guys wouldn't mind doing that, like I said, stop in anytime. just, they know who you are. If they don't, just tell them who you're with and you're there to sign bills and should be good to go. So
Okay.
I would appreciate that. So yeah,
Should we go ahead and approve the bills?
I think we can go ahead and approve them if you guys are comfortable.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the monthly bills. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried. Budget discussion.
All right, I just hadn't really updated you guys on what, when I discussed the budget again with supervisors, 2 months ago. We did talk about carrying over those extra leftover funds from fiscal year 2020. Again, kind of him-hawing around that whole deal. Bill Zinnel did mention, we still have one payment left on the tractor that we purchased 3 years ago. And he did mention there might be a possibility of them just paying that off this year, rather than that having to come out of our budget. That's about $17,000. It's not the 23, I think is what we were asking, but it's something. My thoughts were, I was gonna discuss with them too, you know, about the contract we had come through and look at the trees and the cost we'd have. And I ran that number by the county engineer, Scott Cruz, too, just to kind of see what he thought. And of course, he said it's a little high, but their breakdown on how they charge as far as how many cuts, the equipment they use, he didn't think it was too out of line. So I was gonna, you know, propose to them if there was any way they could pay that off for us this year, that would leave us some money open. We wouldn't have to rent a lift if we had a bucket truck. Back even when Andy was here, we talked about getting a bucket truck, but again, those are, you know, a used bucket truck. We've been kind of looking at them. They're anywhere from 15 to 30,000. We'd like to get something that is light enough that you wouldn't have to have a CDL to operate it or to drive it. A lot of these machines or trucks, they are pretty heavy duty. I'm sure you guys have seen it. We've all seen a lot of them driving around lately, but we were just thinking something smaller, you know, with a 40-foot boom on it that could potentially, we could use, you know, for many different things. You know, since I started, I've walked through all of our parks and, you know, in the mowed areas and the public access, the most accessible areas for the public. And we have a lot of hazard trees. And, you know, it wouldn't be very cost effective for us to rent or to hire that out every time we need a branch cut out that's high enough where we can't access it. You know, between myself, Katie, Eric, and Blaine, even Roger, you know, we've all got pretty good chainsaw experience. We'd be willing to get more, especially I know, you know, there's a lot of arborist training out there for operating these bucket trucks and, you know, being the person inside of it. You know, that'd be something I think would be very beneficial to the Conservation Board down the road and even now. So that may be something I propose to them. I did want to talk to you guys about it and see if, you know, does that sound like a good idea? Something, you know, if they did pay off this 17,000 for the tractor, I mean, yes, we're looking for the restroom facility, you know, funds for that down at Grants Woods, on top of a long list of other things. But this is something I think that we could utilize now. Again, we have this telehandler rented for a week. I would think we can probably get most of it done within that time, but it's just, you know, it's hard to tell until we get out there. But if we had some sort of bucket truck that we could, you know, utilize anytime we have an event like this, any storm event, then I think it'd be very beneficial. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think it's a good idea.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be a useful tool.
Yeah.
What about instead of a bucket truck, and it's kind of like that, but I've seen the smaller ones you can pull behind the pickup or something, and it's just a lift. I don't know for sure what they're called, but basically.
The county actually has one of them. Secondary Roads has one, but The levelers don't work on it very well, and the
Oh,
fact
really?
that it is a trailer, it's kind of hard to get in and out of places without,
Okay.
you know, having a lot of room to turn around and things like that. Again,
I
it works. I would think it would work, and I haven't checked pricing on something like that either, but
I suppose they won't let you use it then, will they?
they do occasionally. But the last few times we've used it, we fought those things. Like I said, the leveling mechanism on the outriggers or downriggers, the stabilization arms. It was a joke.
Oh.
I think we ended up I don't remember what we did. I think we ended up renting some sort of a lift. I can't even remember what we were doing, but they're nice. They work great. Probably a little cheaper than a truck, but they have their issues too. But I could definitely look into
from a ladder or something.
Say what?
Just a step up from a ladder.
Step up from a ladder. Maybe a little better than that. Like I said, they're handy. It's just if you're in, if we were along the trail, it wouldn't be too bad. But if you're, in some of our areas that aren't very level, fighting those downriggers or outriggers is kind of a pain. And then getting turned around and getting in and out of places. But I know when I worked for Polk County, they had 2 bucket trucks, I believe, and they were worth their weight in gold. We did a lot of work on the trails, other areas of their properties that they manage, and they seem pretty good. And again, I just looked very briefly at some prices on bucket trucks, but I can definitely do a little more research on that too. And then talk to the supervisors on Wednesday and see if that might be something that they would be interested in doing. So. But other than that, that's really all I had as far as the budget discussion from the last fiscal year. And again, I was going to talk with the supervisors a little bit more about that on Wednesday and kind of get their thoughts, and then I can report back to you guys next month.
Okay.
All right.
You ready to move on?
Yep, ready to move on.
We've got a new member.
See.
Quarterly naturalist update.
Okie dokie. I emailed everybody that the update. There's not much to it this time around. Unfortunately, I didn't have any programs to speak of all summer. It's kind of a rough go of it. So it turned out I did a lot more law enforcement than I normally do, which is fine. It was good. I actually had the opportunity. I had the opportunity to do more ride-alongs with the sheriff's office and things like that. So actually get into the recreation season on the law enforcement side. So, there's a silver lining to everything, right? I guess. I did get to do, the Iowa State does a program for high school age students around the country. And normally they bring them over to Iowa State and they spend a week with them, showing them about agriculture and natural resources, and kind of giving them an idea of how they could come to Iowa State and do some things, or go and get outside and really promote the outdoors. And so I've been trying to do a program with them for now 3 or 4 years, and unfortunately every single year something has happened. It's either been too hot to go outside, or it's been raining, or the kids didn't want to participate just because it was the bad weather, and then this year COVID happened, so again we weren't able to do it. However, one of the members of the team who of the team leader actually has her master's in not photography, but filmography. So she was able to, they brought a team out to the office, and we were actually able to do a professional level of film of they interviewed me on what I do is for work, and kind of what county conservations do, and how some of these kiddos could get into the conservation world if they wanted to. And then I went into an owl pellet dissection, which was a lot of fun, really nice up close. And I showed them how to do it. And then they sent owl pellets to the kids. And they did everything from home, but they got to dissect the owl pellets. They listened to my video, and then they were able to do that in person. So that worked out really good. So I guess I did have some virtual program numbers that way, but it's not the same, but it was actually really high quality. So I sent you guys the first video. They're 10-minute videos. It takes an hour to upload them. So the first video has been uploaded. I'm currently working on uploading the owl pellet dissection. So those will be on our YouTube. Now, once that other one is updated, I'll shoot that one out to you so you can have access to both of them. So they're high quality video. I mean, I fumble over myself a couple different times because it was all shoot from the hip. I had no idea what they actually wanted. They showed up, they're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to start talking and you just start talking. Okay, well, that works great, but I guess that's what I do for a job. But we rolled out with that. So that was about the only programming I did pretty much all summer. Other than that, we did a photo shoot for the Boone Forks website. So I got to be a civilian for a little bit and take some photos of kayaking and my dogs in the campground. And then I did some photos of teaching with the turtles. So they made a little debut this summer. And then the Dray show hit. So we did a whole bunch of natural resource work, spent a week helping the guys get chainsawing and stuff cleared up from up here at Don Williams as well, down at Sweet Point. So, and then I'll go out next week and help with, or this week, excuse me, and help with the trail. We had not as successful of Kestrel boxes this year as we did last year. I don't know what happened at the beginning of the season. We had eggs in 6 boxes, I believe. And then by the end, we only had 3 of the 6 actually fledge out. So a couple of the boxes, and the boxes that didn't go were in this area, actually up here at Don Williams. And I don't know if something happened to rodent populations in the area, or if farmer or somebody put out poison for rodents and they were eating poison rodents. I don't know. Or if they decided that something was pestering them in those boxes, and so they went off to nest someplace else. So a couple of them did not go, unfortunately. We were super excited. Had eggs and then no eggs, but we did get some successful fledging out of, I think 3 boxes. So hopefully we'll, the more years the boxes are up, the more likely the kestrels are to use them. And we definitely have them in good spots. We always, I drive around the county and look for them, and there are kestrels on the lines near the boxes. So we'll just keep that program up and hope we have better success next year with them. One of the big things that Sabrina and I did this year, was the guys got Mike moved out of the old bait shop and built him the nice big bait shop down below. So I was able to clean that out, and we sealed the floor and repainted and moved out a bunch of and moved the recreation equipment into that room. So I can expand now the back room and have more space to be organized for my environmental programs, which is awesome. It's really nice to have a little more room. And that way, if the lodge is rented, I have access to everything. Because before, if the lodge was rented, I'd have to go through the bait shop or go through the party that was happening in the lodge to get to my stuff. So it's definitely easier to be able to just access it that way. And then where I'm not in Mike's hair and, or the bait shop guy's hair, and, it works out good. So when I get pictures of everything, I'll get pictures of everything done, and I'll throw those up there at another time. So I'm not quite done with the back room, because as soon as we got really digging into the back room, the Dray show hit. So and then we've been busy since. So basically, in my trainings, meetings, conferences, pretty much everything got scrapped for the year, or scrapped for the summer. CCPOA is going to happen in the fall. IAN is going to be virtual. So there'll be an online get together with naturalists across the state. So that kind of leads into what I'm going to be doing for the fall. And this is where I need some input from you guys. on what we want to do, what you guys feel safest for me to do, program wise. I kind of thought midsummer, hey, maybe I'll try to do some in-person programs, and then the storm hit and I just didn't get it done. And I reached out to other naturalists. I reached out to the naturalists statewide, and I got some responses back as to what they're doing. So I asked if they're going to do, if they're doing public programs, if they're doing school programs, if they're doing, and what combination of those that they are doing. So I only heard back from 9 or 10 counties, some of the big ones, some of the small ones. On general principle, they're saying that they're working on, most of them tried outdoor programs this summer of some variety. Some said that worked out really well. Some of those programs were in person. Some of those programs were, here's a packet. Here's a backpack with a bunch of stuff in it. You come pick up the backpack, you go out and do those things. Most of the naturalists reported back that program worked pretty well. Might be something that I look into. I just didn't feel like I wanted to purchase a bunch of stuff if I wasn't going to have the interest in that type of program. Because most of the places that had those programs have really, those are the ones where they have hundreds of kids coming to their summer camps, and they already have really well established summer programs. So I didn't do that, something that I could do in the future if I think I have enough people interested. There's a couple counties out there who are doing no programs, absolutely no programs. And some of those counties are the bigger counties, some of them are smaller. And some of them are saying between the months of November and March, when the cases are expected to go higher because of everybody being inside. Some of them are saying we're not going to do any programs in there. So nothing in person. And they'll just do virtual. Some are doing hybrids of both. Some are saying if the schools will let us in, we're going to go in. I looked at every school in Boone County at the beginning of this with their plans. They all said no visitors. I think every single one of them said no visitors, except for maybe Ogden. But I think Ogden is now going to their hybrid option for schools anyway. So the likelihood of me getting into them wouldn't be very good anyway. And I'm pretty sure Boone and Madrid both said no visitors. United, there's no information, but United is in kind of this big limbo right now anyway with their admin. So I just kind of, I didn't get a really hard, most places are like, well, we're just feeling it out, kind of waiting to see what happens and doing what we're comfortable with or doing what our board is comfortable with. So I just kind of need to have an idea of going forward what I should be doing. I'm going to do as much virtual as I can, of course. But like last week I had Trinity Lutheran, they'd asked me to do an in-person program for first and second graders. And we were going to be outside. So that was, I agreed to do it. And I modified my program so that I wouldn't be touching anything that the kids were touching. And I was going to do it outside. She asked me, if it's raining, can you do it inside the parish hall? And I didn't feel comfortable with that. My nephew has a heart condition, so he's pretty high risk. And he and my brother and family are actually living with my mom right now. So, and I like to see my mother. So I decided that I don't want to be inside with the kiddos, but that's a personal preference. And if everybody says, no, Katie, you should be going and doing as much programming as possible, that's fine. I can do that. I just have to take that into account. So it rained last week, so I just gave the teacher the material and she taught it inside. So they weren't able to go outside anyway. So, but that's kind of in a nutshell what I've been dealing with and kind of thinking about what we need to do. Do you guys have any input as to what type of program I should be doing or looking at for the foreseeable future with the unknowns?
Do you know how many of these classes are doing virtual learning anyway and would have you on for like half an hour to do you could do like a virtual exercise with them pretty easily, I would think.
Mm-hmm. That would be ultimately the goal. I haven't had any teachers reach out about anything currently, and that's not an uncommon thing because they are completely overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
They honestly don't know if tomorrow they're going to have to go completely online, and they have to, and a lot of these teachers are having to, and I'm not sure exactly how each school is doing it, but sometimes they'll have one teacher that's in charge of the virtual students already, and sometimes they have one teacher, like the teacher has her class of kids, and she has to do all of the virtual kids as well as all of the in-person kids. So there's no time in the day. So I would love to do the virtual stuff with them. I figured I would wait a little bit longer to let them kind of get settled and get into a rhythm before I start really reaching out and saying, hey, I can do these programs with you folks. Ultimately, that's what I would like to do, rather than the in-person, but if I need to offer in-person program, I can do that. So.
I think in-person ones you should only do outdoors though. I think that's the best.
Yeah.
Outdoor so people can be spaced out and there's ventilation and not do anything inside.
Mm-hmm. Most of the other naturalists that are doing them are saying no indoor programs, only outdoor programs for the schools, and they're saying that their staff are wearing face coverings or masks of just as a principle for them, and then they're following the school's guidelines on whether the kids are masked or not, but most of the time they're not. So
Well, I think personally, I think everybody needs to take their own situation into account on what they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some people, because it's like no big deal, and other people are like, nope, I wear this, 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 and this, and only go these places. So, whereas you're saying you may be fine, but you have relatives that have issues, so you need to be careful.
Yep.
So you got to consider that. So you have to do what you have to do.
Mhm.
When you were talking about people just like picking up packets of things, is there a way to do that low cost without having to give them a backpack or something, but to just give them some printed materials or tell them to find stuff or email them the materials?
Yep, definitely can do that. I'm gonna have to build the question, hey, do you guys want these things, and then offer them too. But yeah, it would definitely be online. But the point of doing the physical stuff was everybody's getting inundated with everything is virtual now. Everything is online. So how can we, you can go outside and say, oh, go look at this leaf, but here's some actual material, go outside and do it versus here's a pretty PowerPoint that has all of this stuff in it. So I think that was the naturalists that were doing those backpacks and things like that. But you're absolutely right. They cost. And if I don't have the people who want them to sign up, that's kind of where I'm in this limbo. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on buying a bunch of stuff if they're not gonna use it. So
Yeah, I've kind of put a little thought into it too after Katie and I had a few conversations here over the past couple months. And yeah, I agree with what Greg said. I don't feel comfortable requiring you to go out there and do these, like when Trinity, I'd asked you, it was kind of one of those things like, no, like we'll help you as much as we can, but I don't want to put you guys at risk, if there's other ways around it. And, like you said, we were out, as long as you're outside, I don't see an issue there. You can safely, social distance that way. If the only thing is weather permitting, and when we do get into winter here, hopefully we have some snow and, like snowshoeing and things like that. I think there's probably ways we can do that, without having to be right on top of each other. The only thing is if it is a bunch of kids, I know a lot of the whole snowshoeing is getting the snowshoes on the kids. So there are those challenges that we have to look at too, and as far as the online, the virtual stuff, I think it's a great idea. But like you said, our part of our goal and mission is to get people outside to enjoy, the outdoors if there's, you know, if it's all online Zoom, you know, stream things, it's yeah, how many people are really going to take interest in that? So that's kind of where I was thinking too. And like we discussed, you know, coming up with some sort of a hybrid program or multiple hybrid programs that you can do where, yeah, you can still, you know, like a scavenger hunt, you know, you can still do some virtual component to it, but then have a list of things, you know, and kind of walk through and say, you know, walk through with the students or the public and, you know, this is what we're looking for, and kind of give them information on those things, and then they can find it on their own time and kind of do it at their own pace. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. As far as the in-person stuff, again, as long as it's not inside, I don't have an issue with it. But again, it's what you feel comfortable with doing.
Yeah.
And as far as like you mentioned, as far as like having the packets for people to take out, you know, that may be something we can look into too. If we don't want to do in-person snowshoeing, maybe you can do a virtual snowshoe hike where we can have the snowshoes available and have, you know, make sure people sign up in advance so we know who has them, and then they can come pick them up, and, you know, you can say, hey, we're going on this trail today, and you can do it virtually, and then they can kind of follow along, you know, with their phone, and you can kind of point things out along the way like you normally would, you know. But I think those would be some good ideas moving forward. Again, it's just so tough right now because, yeah, we don't, I just saw that about Ogden yesterday.
Yeah.
I just saw it on the news, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. I think we all knew it was probably going to happen, but again, where are we going to be in a month? We don't know that yet. So something I thought too is maybe as far as the school programs, maybe we can, you know, you and I can work on getting something together that we can push out to the schools and say, hey, you know, we're still here. We still want to offer you things. These are your options, you know, and then obviously you can't, you know, go in there and drag them into your programs or make them do these things. But at least if that way, if they have options, they can say, hey, yeah, we've got a half hour, you know, that we normally would schedule, or we have a day field trip that we normally would schedule. If there are some options for virtual programs, then at least they could fill some time with that, and, you know, we can figure it out. But yeah, it's just tough. It's tough with that right now. It's one thing I've struggled with throughout this whole thing is how are we going to do the programming? And like I told Katie the other day, like I hope my leadership is not like lacking, because I don't know the answer. This is, you know, just like anybody else, we don't know. We don't know what next month's going to bring. We don't know what 2 months from now is going to bring. So we're just kind of doing it on the fly and have to do the best we can. But again, we want to provide what we can to the public. But yeah, that was one of the things Katie and I talked about as far as, you know, getting your guys' input, kind of like we did a couple months ago with summer programs, and just kind of see where you guys stand, and you know, do what we cut, I guess, from kind of what Greg said, you know, just do what we feel comfortable doing, and, you know, we can put together some sort of a plan, and I can forward it to you guys too. And then that way, you know, like Katie had mentioned before, if a school called, well, no, we want you there, you know, that's your job. At least this way we have something and say, no, our board supports us, you know, no indoor programming. You know, if there is no way we can do, you know, if we're doing an outdoor program, you know, encourage people to wear masks, encourage, you know, obviously, like I told Katie, it'd probably be a good idea for us to wear masks if we are, you know, doing these types of programming, in-person programming. But at least that way we have some sort of a policy. We can say, nope, this was approved by our board. This is what we feel comfortable doing. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is how we're operating for the time being. So.
Yeah, I think it sounds like you're brainstorming, and I think that's what's important right now. Don't worry about your timeline, but brainstorm. And I know that, for example, the Boone Middle School has an activity period, and I think this idea of doing something where maybe teachers, it might be something dealing with the, you know, conservation or whatever, but each teacher in the different departments could adapt an exercise to that. Like you could do a writing thing or an art thing, or, you know, so I think sending out information like what your guidelines are, but here's what we might be able to do. I think maybe the teachers, not right away, but later on might appreciate that a lot. So I don't know. I know I would have, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what we'll do is Katie and I will put something together, something we can send out, or we can send, to the public to put it in, or if it's something we just want to push out to the teachers and the different, or the, the superintendents in the different schools or the different principals and things, and see what, at least let them know that, hey, we're still here. We'd still like to program for you guys, but this is how we're going to have to do it for the time being.
Right, right.
And at least that way we know, they know we're still here, we're available if you want us, but this is how we're going to have to do it. So, and maybe once we get that together, something together, I can push it out to you guys just via email. And I don't think it has to be anything that's voted on, but just kind of give input. If there's anything you guys would add, take out, seems to be the easiest way to communicate. Right now.
But for first month, I mean, things might change greatly by the end of the month. We don't know what all is going to happen. So I
Right.
might as well wait and see a little bit. It could be there'll be a lot of virtual things going on from the home. If it's like Ogden, things could pop up. So
Yep.
no pressure, I'd say.
Okay. Does that help, Katie?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
That was the idea I had in my head. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was on the board with that, and I'll go ahead and start filming hikes and doing all of the the seasonal type things and the stuff that I was hoping to get done earlier this summer, and then
Now you don't have Sabrina's help anymore.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm just gonna have to stick the GoPro on my dog. That's fine. We'll just
hanging around Eric's neck. They'll like that.
we'll drive around the park. Go.
Watch the dog.
Yeah.
The dogs are wrestling. Sorry, I'll mute that.
All right.
We ready to move on?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, Katie.
Hey.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. It's tough times, but we'll get through it.
Yep. All right.
Snyder and Associates supplemental scope of services approval for City of Boone.
Okay. So the last trails meeting, we met with Snyder and Associates. Of course, just a reminder, they've been doing a lot of the trail, the engineering work for the trails, the feasibility studies, determining routes, on and on and on. They've been on contract with us for about 2 years now. We're getting down to the end of the contract. Well, at least the Trails Advisory Committee is. There's still funds available with the Trails Advisory Committee, which we talked with Snyder and kind of put some priorities in place as far as where we want to go as for the trails project. Kurt Phillips had sent out a list of priorities that Snyder had put together. I think there were 7 or 8 of them. And the committee members just kind of shot back what they thought the priorities were. I was pleased to hear that the priorities that kind of we had talked about, even Marilyn and I think Greg was in on the conversation at one point too, as far as where we want to go with this trails, Boone County Trails project. Again, Snyder's not cheap. They do a fantastic job, but they don't work for free. So we can't, like I said, we kind of came to the end of the contract, the 2nd-year contract, and they've drafted a supplemental agreement for additional services. So I'll just kind of run through with you guys what these tasks that we have prioritized are. And then the one thing also that I had explained to them, the Trails Committee too, is we need to make sure we're not going above what we have in our account for the Trails Committee has. So that way the Conservation Board isn't on the hook for any of that, because that was kind of what we had talked about from the beginning of the contract that we signed with Snyder is, the Trails Committee was going to foot the bill for a lot of this engineering, which again, they have the funds to do, and we're getting more and more, people interested. We're actually getting more and more grants here lately. So we think we'll be able to keep them on. It's just a matter of where do we want to go. So the first task, basically just their basic professional services. Actually, I'm gonna pull this up. I think I got it ready to go too. All right. Can you see it?
Right,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'll just kind of buzz through this here. Oh wait, that's not the whole document. This is just the part where we sign. Sorry, I can run through it here. The first task, project administration, again, pretty much what they've been doing. They provide monthly progress reports on the communications and coordination to ensure the project remains on schedule. I'm just gonna stop sharing that. Meetings, they'll attend up to 4 meetings with the Trails Committee. They usually do more. They only charge us for about 4 though per contract. Task 2, funding, conceptual design, property owner coordination. So this is kind of where it gets into the priority. Obviously, priority 1, Sweet Point Park to High Trestle Trail. We've been working on funding for that. Again, Fed Rec Trails grant that we're hopefully approving the resolution for tonight. The REAP grant, we just applied for that here in the middle of August. Unfortunately, we didn't get the State Rec Trails grant, but we did get a Walmart grant for $25,000 here, I think 2 months ago. So we are starting to get a little bit more money. We're looking a little bit more been looking at a little bit more favorably to the grant scoring committees because, we've been in it for a few years now. We've shown that we've been able to pursue and be successful at getting some of this funding. So we're hoping that helps out with these new grant applications that we're putting out as well. As far as that goes, I've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers to put together a new lease agreement for Sweet Point Park. That lease agreement is up in 2028. We did get a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, and as part of that, we have to have an updated lease through the Army Corps of Engineers, which I don't think is an issue, but there's just some things that have to fall in place for that to happen, and they don't move very fast. Their real estate office does not move very fast, so we're still waiting on that. We also have to submit a request for a state archaeological review through the State Historical Preservation Offices, or SHPO, kind of what a lot of people call it. But we should be able to get that done here in the next year. And yeah, so that's priority 1. Priority 2, we need to figure out what's going on with this INHF ground to see if there's any possibility that we can even take a trail through that. We did talk with Joe McGovern from INHF and a few of the other folks with the Trails Committee about the possibility of a trail going through there. Again, they're still waiting for funding, whether that be the DNR, how that all shakes out. We're still we are in the dark. We don't know how it's all going to shake out quite yet. So that was a priority that I had, pretty much laid on the line. Hey, we need to figure out what's going on with this ground. That's pretty much a really big piece, or it is a really big piece of the Trails project itself. Especially to go past the Arboretum, which is, one of our main goals. I know Mark Schneider reached out to me from the Arboretum not too long ago and just said, hey, where are we at? I said, Mark, you know about as much as we do. So Mark was in on that conversation with INHF as well. It sounds like they haven't closed the door on allowing a trail to some capacity through that land, but we're just not sure what it is. So the plan there is to do a site visit, figure out where we can, what's going to work, what's not, and then we'll have to, run that by INHF to see if that's something that they would, consider. And then again, whoever decides to purchase the land from INHF, is that something they're going to allow? And that's something I've, stressed to them multiple times is, the meetings we've had with the DNR, they don't want trails going through that property. Again, that was only a couple departments with the DNR. I know the new director for the DNR was out there here a couple months ago and walked the grounds. haven't really heard, much input as far as what her thoughts were on that, but hopefully we get some sort of an update soon to see where we're at with that. So those were the two priorities that we had talked about for now, through the supplemental, and this should probably get us through, I would say, for probably another 6 months, or more. It just depends on how things go, with talking with these folks. There are a couple other property owners that are around the 4-H ground, that would possibly be interested in allowing a trail to go, through the periphery, around the periphery of some of their property, as part of an easement. But again, that's going to be part of that priority number 2. So the price tag on that is, I believe it said not to exceed. Yeah, not to exceed $21,800, which again, the Trails Committee does have. They just need our blessing to move forward with that, since we are technically the fiscal agent for the Trails Committee. So do you guys have any issues? Or is that something we can get a motion to approve if you guys are willing?
I'll make a motion to approve that supplemental agreement.
Marilyn, what are your thoughts?
Are you wanting a second? What do you, I will, if that's something that you favor, I will second it.
I do, especially the Sweet Point portion. That's something we've been working on for
Right.
since the beginning, and that makes sense to us.
Yes.
Again, the 4-H ground, that's gonna take this trail one way or the other. We need to know that before we can really move forward with any of the rest of it.
Oh,
So,
I second the motion.
okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you for that. All right.
Resolution authorizing executive director to sign legal documents.
All right, so this came up a couple times here in the past month or two. The first was, I was, again, speaking with the real estate office through Army Corps of Engineers. And as part of this revamping of the lease, they need me to be able to sign legal documents on behalf of the board. That way, typically the only time we do that is monthly. That way these things can happen hopefully a little quicker. And then there are some documents that I need to sign anyway. They recommended actually doing this annually. That way there's an updated lease every year, an updated agreement every year that I can sign this. So I put it on my calendar to kind of do, I'll probably just do this from now on every September. And then, like I was talking, when we were talking about the storm earlier, we did apply for FEMA for the storm, mainly for Sweet Point. Again, we had a lot of time wrapped up into that, and a lot of damages, a lot more damages there than most places, and then along the trail as well. It's going to be kind of a challenge to map and GPS locate a lot of these trees, but that'll be probably part of my job here in the next week anyway to get that stuff done. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. I'll just kind of I can pop this resolution up here too. I believe I have it. All right. With you all, and I can kind of read through it real quick. All right, you guys see that?
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So yeah, so this is a resolution authorizing executive director of the Boone County Conservation Board to sign legal documents on behalf of the Boone County Conservation Board. Whereas the following resolution was passed in an official meeting of the Boone County Conservation Board on the 14th day of September 2020, which is today. Whereas Boone County Conservation has decided to grant the executive director of the Boone County Conservation Board the authority to conduct business and be a signatory on behalf of the BCCB. Be it resolved that executive director of the Boone County Conservation Board, Tanner Sharman, be hereby authorized to conduct business for and on behalf of the Boone County Conservation Board, and also be authorized to sign and submit, initial, accept, or execute all documents, legal or non-legal, on behalf of the BCCB. So just need a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve that resolution.
Okay.
I'll second that.
But let's keep it to the legal stuff, not the non-legal.
They sign all that stuff anyway.
Giving you lots of power, Tanner.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we signed one of these. I think we did this back when I was hired at some point too, because I think I needed to sign some documentation, but I can't remember. But like I said, the folks I talked to at the Corps thought it'd be a good idea to probably just do it annually. That way we're covered. So.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Those opposed? Was anybody abstaining?
Nope.
Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't mean to put for all of you without you guys voting already. Jump the gun there, sorry.
That power is going to your head, Tanner. You can type it back in now, I think.
I have to do it at work. I don't have access to my
Oh,
files here.
okay.
Not a big deal.
Maybe you have to put our names on it.
Yeah, I can do that too. I probably will do that. I'm trying to think of the example.
So if you go rogue on us, they'll know who allowed you to do that.
Right. Well, all right. Well, I think that's it on that.
We got another resolution.
Another resolution. So this is the one that I spoke about earlier. That is for the federal rec trails grant. Pull that one up quick too. Well, I thought I had it. I don't think I have it. I'll just hold it up. Do it the old fashioned way. So this is similar to the one that we did here 2 months ago for the state rec trails grant. I don't know if you guys can read backwards or not, but I emailed that to you guys, I believe today too. Basically, this one is be and it hereby resolved that the Boone County Conservation Board will apply for a 2020 federal rec trails grant for the High Trestle Trail to City of Boone Trail Phase 1, and that the BCCB will adequately maintain the trail for its intended use and maintain the total trail used to justify the project in public use for a minimum of 20 years following project completion, and authorize the executive director to sign such application documents. So need a motion to approve that guy.
Well, I'm making motion to approve that resolution.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those
sure.
opposed? Motion carried.
All right. Thank you for that.
Update on a good old derecho.
All right. Well, I've kind of already done that for the most part. Just kind of wanted to give you guys an update on where we're at. We've gotten most of the debris cleaned up again in all of the mowed areas in our maintained parks, Don Williams and Sweet Point, Grants Woods as well. We just had a cross country meet here a couple weeks ago. But there is still some work to do. Again, kind of the outlying areas in there, back in the woods, things that are leaning that could potentially come down in some of those maintained areas. So still have some work to do there. Again, rented a telehandler. We're going to take that out on the trail tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, we've got it for a week. So we think we should be able to get the majority, probably all of that, as far as any of the stuff hanging, still in, broken off, still in trees, or anything that's leaning from the timber that could potentially fall on the trail. We're going to take care of that. We did have, again, told you guys I applied for REAP for those, or not REAP, FEMA for those federal assistance to get take care, at least reimburse us for some of the time and money that we spent on those events. We did just get some numbers back from our insurance carrier as far as the damage that was done at Sweet Point to the shop, residence, shower house, and the shelter there. So we've got all that going. We just kind of have to keep in touch with them and let them know how money's being spent and what's done in-house, what isn't done. So again, we're just kind of, we've been playing the waiting game a while on the trail. Again, I wanted to talk to you guys about the folks, the contractors I talked to, waiting for a rental for something we could get out there that would be useful for us to do the work, the tree work that we're going to be doing. So, but yeah, and then, trying to take care of the storm stuff on top of all our other operations. Luckily now we're past Labor Day, which is kind of the downhill for the rec season. So still hoping for nice weather, still hoping people want to get out and, enjoy the outdoors and camp and do some of the summer activities before things start getting really cold. So, but yeah, that's pretty much where we're at as far as the derecho. Said I think we'll probably be cleaning up after this one for quite some time. It's going to take a while to hit all these. Again, there's a lot of hazard trees that are still out there that have limbs hanging, partially broken off, even in some of these mowed areas. But you take a walk around any town that was hit by this, I think we're all dealing kind of with the same thing. So we understand, and that's one thing. I did get to go on Channel 13 News again. Wow. And just that was one thing I wanted to explain to them, is just letting people know there are still hazards out there. The trails are cleared, our areas are cleared of debris for the most part, but there still are hazards hanging, leaning trees and things like that. And just let them know that, we're working our best to try to get these things taken care of. It just, with our small staff, it takes time, so, but yeah, no, we're hoping, we don't have any, knock on wood, anything major happen to us again this year, and hopefully September's quiet and we can keep moving and get 2020 over with. So, any questions on any of the derecho happenings?
No.
Okay. Don Williams Frisbee Golf Course basket quotes discussion.
Yes. So, I hope these open. Those won't open. Darn it. All right. Did you guys get the email that I sent with the quotes? For some reason, it's not letting me open an Excel file. I don't know why.
I got it here.
Yeah, it was just a spreadsheet that kind of had layer and outline of the quotes that we got from the three different vendors for the disc golf course. I'll just kind of read through that with you guys. So I don't know if you guys aren't familiar with Frisbee golf. It's like golf in a sense that there is a hole, technically, they call them baskets. I can probably pull up a picture at least of what we're looking at here so you guys can kind of see.
That's what they have at McCoe's Park in Boone, isn't it? Don't
Yep.
they have? Okay,
Yep.
yeah. And they have one at Edgewood Park and Magic. Yeah, I know what it is.
Yep. And they've got a couple of them in Ames.
Yep.
Really popular. Again, we approve. I think you guys approved us as part of the budget this year. We've had the majority of the work that's been done on the course at Don Williams has been volunteer work, which is great. The gentleman who's in the process of designing the course has helped out a lot as far as lining up volunteers and things like that for the course. So he had sent me just some recommendations as far as baskets, what manufacturers to go with, what, what's popular around here, what's, most cost effective and things like that. So did that pop up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is your typical Frisbee golf basket. They're all pretty much the same. The difference is there's, obviously the different gauges of steel used for the basket itself, the ring around the top, the kind of, we call it a deflector ring, different gauges of steel. Some of them are powder coated. They have, no fading, no rusting and things like that. Some of them aren't. It just kind of, again, there's about 500 different manufacturers of these things. Surprisingly, there's a lot of them. We just went with the three. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I thought I was cutting out there for a minute. So we went and just by his recommendations, we got quotes from Dynamic Discs, Innova Disc, and DGA. Those, again, they're all three popular manufacturers or vendors for these types of baskets. All of the baskets that we got quotes for, we wanted them to be tournament level, so that way they could hold sanctioned tournaments in here, things like that at Don Williams, which is kind of the ultimate goal, to get more people to our parks. We'd like to have, have annual tournaments, hold, league out there like you do normal golf, ball golf. So we wanted to make sure that these things are, sanctioned for those types of tournaments and events. So the two, or I guess three vendors, Dynamic Discs, Innova, and DGA. So Dynamic makes a variety of different baskets. Their two most popular, Veteran and Patriot. Their Veteran is probably their most high end, 14 inner and outer chains. You can kind of see there the chain configurations, and these things have all sorts of different chain configurations. The idea behind that is, I guess, how effective they are at catching Frisbees when they do hit the basket. If there's not very many chains, a lot of times these things will just buzz right through the chains and could turn a hole-in-one into, a birdie rather than a hole-in-one. And of course, everybody wants a hole-in-one. So, again, the Veteran, 14 inner and outer chains, made out of 8 gauge steel. The Patriot, 13 inner and outer chains. I guess it's not 8 gauge steel, it's 8mm steel. And then Patriots, 6mm steel. Cost per basket is $295 for the Veteran, $225 for the Patriot. Total cost for the Veteran would be $5,310. For the Patriot would be $4,050. This company offers a 25-year warranty, and actually they give a free basket instead of just, if you order 18, they give you a free practice tee. So you kind of get, a little bit of added incentive there to go with their baskets. The next vendor is Innova Disc Golf. They're probably going to be the most popular. That's a picture I have pulled up right here. They're probably the most popular, most well-known in the disc golf world. This is their Disc Catcher Pro 28. This is the one that people typically get when they go out on courses. But again, that doesn't limit us to that. But this has the 14 inner and outer chains, 8mm steel. These ones are powder coated stainless. So again, they're not going to fade over time. They're not going to rust. They also offer, these guys actually offer a 20-year rather than a 25-year warranty, just because apparently they stand behind their product so much that they don't think, again, I think the rep that I talked to through Innova said that he's been there like 30 some years. And he said in his time there, they've never had to replace a basket due to warranty, due to any manufacturer defect on any of these baskets. So that goes to show how durable and, how they hold up to the elements and things like that. That's a pretty good sign there. Those are $325 a piece for a total of $5,850. DGA, they make a number of the tournament level baskets. The ones we got quotes for were the Mach 5, Mach 7, and Mach 10. So the Mach 5 compares to the deluxe model, or like it's a Mach 9, compared to the deluxe model from other vendors. So it'd be comparable to a Disc Catcher Pro or Veteran basket from Dynamic and Innova. Theirs are $310 a basket, a little bit more than Dynamic, a little bit less than Innova for $5,580. Those also come with a 25-year warranty. If you step up to their Mach 7, these have 3 rows of chains. They've got that shielded visibility ring up on top. Again, that way it doesn't take damage. You don't have to replace those things. Those are $350 a basket for a total cost of $6,300. And then their Mach, I believe it's a 9, I don't think it's a 10, has 20 inner and outer chains rather than some of those have. So the 14 inner and outer, so that'd be a total of 28 chains. This would have, or 20 rather than 14, sorry, my math's wrong. This is probably the most top of the line basket. Those are $410 a basket with a total cost of $7,380. So again, I just kind of wanted to give this to you guys and let you guys, give me any input that you might have on this. I'm really no expert myself either. I've learned a lot as far as, the layout of courses, the baskets, what's right, what's wrong, and things from Steve, our designer. But I just wanted to kind of show you guys where we're at as far as prices and, I guess get your input. What are your guys' thoughts as far as purchasing? Do we go with the cheapest we can? Do we go with the most expensive? Probably wouldn't recommend that, but what are you guys thinking?
Well, I will say this is a very popular recreational. I wasn't aware of how popular it was, but
Yep.
there are actually a lot of tournaments throughout Iowa dealing with this. So I think that will be something that in the future would be a good, really become a really good addition. So I always think, if it isn't way more than anything else, you should go for the ones that are most durable and will last. I mean,
Sure.
that's Innova. I'd say go with Innova.
Yeah.
Yep. I was kind of leaning towards Innova and the Dynamic to the Veteran, just because we do get the free basket. That's something we'll probably need to purchase because just like a golf course, there is always a practice tee and a
Right.
practice hole. So that would drive our costs up a little bit if we did go with Innova or DGA. But I know Innova, I want to say their sales rep told me if somebody comes in lower than them, then he'd be willing to work something out. So.
Well, in that case, you say, are you going to throw in a free basket then? Because the other company will do that.
That's probably what I'll end
Yeah.
up doing. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rep for Dynamic Discs, he heard through the grapevine that this was a year ago that we were proposing putting a Frisbee golf course at Don Williams. And these guys are from Missouri. They played a lot of the Iowa courses, but he was super excited about. He's like, yeah, the disc golf world's buzzing. There's going to be a new course in Iowa, championship level course. So he's bugged me like every month since the first time I talked to him like a year ago, wondering, where are you guys at? Let me know. We'd like to help you out. So.
Yep. It's very popular.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's continues to grow too. It's one of those, it's really cheap to play, rather than golf where you've got, 500 to on up, wrapped up in clubs. You can go out and buy a Frisbee for, $7-8 and, play just as good as the pros do. So.
Yeah, it isn't easy. I tried it.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's, if you ever thrown a Frisbee before, they always seem to veer one way or the other, and you got to really try to get that down to keep it straight. So.
Young kids like it.
And you said these are all championship level.
Yep, they're all
Right.
tournament level baskets. That would be,
Okay.
they'd be good for any tournaments that we sanctioned tournaments that we held. So.
Well, I do like the idea of the stainless steel ones. Then they'll keep looking good instead of start rusting after a while.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
You do see with a lot, just in my experience with a lot of these discs or baskets, they fade too. So they maybe, they'll be yellow for a while and then they fade. And the biggest, part of having that yellow ring on top is visibility, so you can kind of like on playing ball golf, you have the flag, it's basically the same concept there. So if it gets faded to the point where you can't see it, it'd be hard for those playing to be able to see it, and then they'd probably be on us as far as getting those things replaced. So. So yeah, that's my spiel on baskets. I think what I'll do is I'll get a hold of Innova and Dynamic and kind of see what kind of deal maybe Innova might work out as far as maybe providing a basket or maybe knocking their price down a little bit. So, and then I'll probably go ahead and get those purchased. We've got 12 of the holes laid out at Don Williams, not completely. It takes time to get them, exactly how you want them, but 12 holes that are playable. And we'd like to get those installed yet this fall before the snow flies. Again, I don't know if that'll happen, but I'd like to go ahead and get them ordered so that way they're here, sooner rather than later. So we do have them on hand when we are ready to install. So.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. That's all I have for that.
Additional seasonal part-time and our reserve deputy hiring discussion.
Okay, so this is something, and Katie, feel free to chime in too. Just having some discussions with Katie and Blaine as far as their ranger duties go. Of course, this year is a little different than a typical year because Katie's not doing a lot of programming, so she has stepped up and done, she's getting a lot more training with the sheriff's office as far as the law enforcement side of things. On the other hand, Blaine down at Sweet Point, he's been busy with a lot of the storm cleanup stuff, managing that park down there too, with a little bit of seasonal help. So he had actually brought up the concept of possibly hiring a reserve deputy part-time or even seasonal part-time to kind of relieve Katie and Blaine. So that way they're not, because right now as it stands, I think we have it where Blaine works 3, Katie works 1, Blaine 3, Katie 1. And again, we've altered that a little bit with everything going on, but we thought it might be, to our advantage to possibly hire at a reserve or have a reserve on, as a reserve to kind of take the load off of their law enforcement duties occasionally throughout the summer. We talk about holidays too. Typically, our park rangers work Memorial Day, Labor Day, and the 4th of July. Never really ever get any of those weekends off. So, and again, we all understand that's kind of part of what we do. But if we had somebody, possibly a reserve or even a part-time park ranger that could kind of be on call for these instances where, maybe we can give, we can kind of rotate as far as the holidays go, Labor Day, Memorial Day, the 4th, we can kind of rotate between those. So that way, at least these guys are getting some of those holidays off, rather than working a whole career and never having a Labor Day, 4th of July, or a Memorial Day off. So we did run it by Stacy with HR at the courthouse. She thought she didn't see a problem with it. It'd just be, obviously it'd have to be something that we would budget for the next fiscal year. But we did bring up the fact there's not a lot of them around right now. Blaine did say he knows a couple guys that would be willing to become reserves. And he thought that there was some sort of a kind of abbreviated training. That way they didn't have to go through the academy. They wouldn't have all of the, bells and whistles that you would if you went through the academy and as far as enforcing and things like that. But to do what we do, we think that we could hire somebody that would, adequately be able to cover for these guys in the event that they had a weekend or they had, needed a weekend off or, any other circumstance that might come up where they weren't available to be around. So just kind of wanted to run it by you guys again, see what your thoughts were. Think it's a good idea, bad idea, any suggestions?
Sounds like the hurdle would just be finding someone, right, who could do it part-time and only part-time and doesn't need a full-time job.
Right. And I know, like I said, Blaine said he knew of a couple people. There's a reserve up in Gallery, which isn't too far away from Don Williams anyway. that he knew from a previous job that thought he might be interested. And then there's a couple guys that he know that kind of want to get into law enforcement, but they're not quite there yet. If they could, get their feet wet as far as being part-time or as a reserve, to see if that's something they actually want to go through with, then that'd be on them. But this way, again, we don't have to, eventually, like we've always said, we are, it would really help to have another full-time employee. I don't know where the supervisors would stand with that. I think you guys would be supportive. You've kind of let us know in the past that you would be, but this would kind of save us from having to do that right away. So we can kind of work on the supervisors and, not just come to them next budget and say, hey, we need another guy or gal out there, and, them shoot us down, and then we're back in the same boat we are. So at least we can see if there's something like this might work out, and then kind of take it from there.
Is this
As
something the supervisors would have to approve or not because it's temporary or?
This they wouldn't. No, I just mean a full-time, because then you have money involved, with a full-time, with a part-time employee, it wouldn't be that much more that we would have to budget annually, because it would be seasonal too. It'd pretty much just be April through October, or through September, really, April until October, where we need that type of position. So it really wouldn't take a big chunk out of our budget to have to hire somebody to do that, rather than hiring another FTE, full-time employee, and then having to, pay for benefits, their salary and stuff like that. Which again, it's not that we don't need it. It's just, will they give it to us, so.
Well, yes, I'm in favor of exploring the issues, put feelers out, see if you can find somebody and interview them and see what they're like, and
Sure.
go from there. But yeah, obviously it wouldn't be a bad idea, particularly in the summer months,
Yeah.
to have that additional help, so they're not running back and forth all the time. So
Part of that is because I'm the naturalist as well. When we don't have, COVID, I basically, my mindset is I don't ever work. I never get holidays off, because if I'm not doing ranger work, I'm doing naturalist work. And, it's this whole, and sometimes I have to go do naturalist stuff and then flip into ranger and then go back and forth and back and forth. So if we had somebody else on that I could actually just do naturalist work, that would be really great.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. And I think, before Blaine too, when Steve was here, it was more of a 50-50, split between Katie and Steve when he was here, where we changed that. Now it's more of a 75-25, actually 80-20, according to Katie's job description. But Blaine's finding that when he does have to work 3 weekends in a row, he's not getting a lot of his, the parks maintenance stuff. Because again, he is a park ranger, but he does a ton of parks management, or, park management down when he's down there, on top of the patrolling. So it would definitely, and again, same with Katie when she's doing, when COVID's not around, we're in a normal year, she is busy doing a lot of natural stuff on the weekends too, along with doing her law enforcement. So if we just had somebody that was able to float, be able to, fill in for these guys occasionally, that's kind of what we're recommending, I guess, to you guys. So.
do you need any approval to go ahead with that, or?
I don't think so. Again, just wanted to kind of bring it up, get your guys' input on it, see if it's something you thought was a good idea, and then we can kind of pursue it a little more seriously. So that way maybe we can have somebody by, next spring.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think as far as seasonal, my budget goes, we didn't have, because we had Butch, we've got some money left as far as our budget for seasonal employees, because we didn't have folks for near the amount of time that we typically would, with them going back to school early and starting a little bit later. I guess things in the summer kind of messing with schedules. So we should have money in the budget, hopefully, if we can find somebody that is reserved, get them hired on and get them going, first part of the spring. So get them trained and ready for the rec season.
Sounds good.
That's good to me.
All right.
Open discussion.
I guess, Katie, did you have anything to add to that? Sorry. No, okay, all right. Open discussion, pretty much, you guys know what we're up to. Talked about a lot of things. Again, gonna go down to the trail, this week and hopefully put a good dent on the damage that's been done down there. Blaine's house, where we've got materials to redo his deck. Structurally, we think it's okay. We got underneath there and there's a couple of supports that are bad that we're gonna have to replace. But other than that, it's just gonna be a matter of mostly deck boards and new railing and things like that. I guess I didn't show you guys any pictures. I can buzz through those real quick too, maybe. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Hmm.
Do you see the photos?
Uh-huh.
Are they bigger? Or do you just see all
No.
the little ones?
They're tiny.
Okay.
Little
hold on.
bitty.
Maybe I can see them now. I put my glasses on.
Okay. Here we go. That better?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah, so that's the tree that was partially on Blaine's house, partially on the deck, a little bit of everywhere. I got a couple more. I'm not going to bore you with too many of them, but I'll pull a couple up here. Here is one of the shop. Tree that was on the shop.
Oh, boy.
Two really big hackberries, and then some other random in-between trees that were in there too.
Wow.
And then
That is a big tree.
I'll show you one more of Blaine's car that was underneath one of those trees. There we go. Blaine's car.
Ooh.
Yeah. So pretty much that's parked right in front of his house. If you can picture trees laid over, clear back to that far entrance, pretty
Hmm.
much that whole distance. From there all the way back through the group camping area, through the tent camping area, that whole area, just nothing but straight line winds, trees, uprooted trees snapped off. It's a mess. So
That's so bad.
yeah. So that's what we're up to. We'll be up to for a while here, and like I said, rec season's kind of winding down. We'll hopefully have a couple more months here of some decent weather where folks can still get out, but we're kind of on the downhill now. So other than that, I think that's about it. Anybody else have any questions, comments on anything else folks have heard out in the public?
No?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, Al, I think.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll
Second.
second.
Oh,
Okay.
All those in favor?
aye.
Hi.
Those opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.
All right. Well, thank you all very much.